Okay, I think we have a quorum. So again, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Anand Padmanabhan, and I'm a research associate professor in the Department of Geography and GI Science at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. And for iGuide, I serve as the managing director. iGuide is essentially the institute, an NSF-funded institute for geospatial understanding through an integrative discovery environment. And we run this series regularly, what we call as the virtual consulting office or the VCO, where we try to bring in like people from within the project, outside the project, to share basically knowledge about what is kind of happening in the community around geospatial data, geospatial sciences, and so on. So in that same vein, I guess we have today a presentation from our colleagues at the National Center for Supercomputing Application. And I guess this will be led by three of you, mainly with Penjian. Maybe I'm pronouncing you very badly. Sorry about that. Shubham and Adam. So all three of you are at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, and we look forward to hearing from you regarding what you are doing. And we have a series of these VCOs. All these are available online, and the recording for these will also be posted online in a week or two. So without further ado, I will pass on the baton to Penjian.
Thank you, Anna. Really appreciate. And thank you everyone for coming today to our presentation. If you are comfortable, turn your video on, please feel free to do so. Otherwise, if you have any questions, please enter in the chat at any time. We will have some, kind of like interaction section that we probably going to type in the chat, and we're looking forward to see your vote. So again, thank you everyone for coming today, and we will start. So slide. So here's today's agenda, and we're going to first of all do a quick introduction, and we're going to go deeper into the how we do to facilitate SDOH data discovery. We're going to quickly talk about the design of our site, and then we're going to show the platform highlights, and we will, during the same time, we're going to do a demo or hands-on, depending on your choice. And lastly, we're going to quickly talk about the future direction of our platform. And here are the presenters. So Adam, do you want to take from here?
Yeah, great. Great to be here, everyone. Thanks for coming. And as Punyin mentioned, we're going to kind of trade through presenters a little bit. I'll start out. My name is Adam Cox. I'm a senior software engineer at the Healthy Regions and Policies Lab, which is more in the center where this particular project is based, as I'll talk about in a minute. And then Shubham will talk a lot more about the product design, and then Punyin will finish up with a lot of that demo and kind of other hands-on stuff that we were mentioning. One thing we thought we would do to start this off is to give people a choice if you want more of a demo later, or if you'd like for us to facilitate like a more hands-on kind of activity for folks. We figured we could put some so I'm putting two messages in the chat. If you want to, if one of those speaks more to you, just add your own thumbs up, and maybe later we'll have a clear direction on what people prefer. So either way, we'll be showing a lot about the platform, and yeah, I'll just get started now. Great. So like I mentioned, this is a project from the Healthy Regions and Policies Lab in the Geography Department at UIUC. And the overall project here is called the SDOH Place Project. It's funded by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation primarily, and the goal and purpose of the project is to build a community of practice around defining, using, and accessing SDOH and place data. And you can head straight to the website now. You'll see a lot more about the project there, sdohplace.org. Yeah. So this term, SDOH, stands for Social Determinants of Health, and this is a kind of a framework within public health, especially within data, and thinking of the conditions and circumstances in which people are born and grow and live and really live their lives, and how those factors affect health outcomes. And we've added this other dimension within this project, the idea of place. So adding geography to that, neighborhoods, communities, and cities, because those are things that really influence all of those factors. So this place project, like I mentioned before, it's very much based on data. It's based on making this type of data more accessible and especially in with regard to spatial data. So improving access to that data and making it easier to use, especially for health equity purposes and kind of research projects. And as you'll see today, through this project, we've been developing apps and different tools that we wanted to create within an open source ecosystem, so that there's a lot of open source code that we'll be talking about. Well, everything that you'll see is you can find on GitHub and published with the GNU version 3, the GPL license. So next slide. The underlying goals of this whole project are to make this type of data easier to find, easier to use, and easier to understand. And we really wanted to create a place where people could work together in kind of a community of practice for understanding and using SDOH and place data. Next slide. So there's two components of this, kind of two technical components you could think of for the whole SDOH in place project. The first component is a community toolkit. Again, you can visit this right now, toolkit.sdohplace.org. So this is a kind of a guide, a multi-step and multi-module guide that we've been putting together that helps researchers in this field put together their own code-based or even no code, really, web apps or data applications. And we've been pairing this with a fellowship program, so that now we're on, I think, our third cohort of fellows from around the US who kind of come to this community toolkit with a goal and with a research goal, and work through our modules, through our sessions, to create their research output and their apps of many different sorts. So that's one element of it. And then the next element is what we're going to talk about a lot today. Next slide. This is the data discovery platform that we've been building. And all of that data we were talking about earlier, that's what we try to make more accessible and teach people along the way how to use it. And so this is what the rest of the talk will be about, this data discovery platform, which again, I invite you to go to right now, and you can click around and start learning more about it. Next slide. All right, so now I'll talk a little bit about how we've put that platform together and kind of the purpose for it. So next. The purpose is, well, like I mentioned, very much a data-driven project. And SDOH data is currently split across a lot of different programs, different government organizations. It's in a lot of different places. And one example here, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, which is largely funding this project, they have, over the course of different grants and different research cycles, created a few different dashboards, right? Different data dashboards. The data behind these isn't necessarily always linked, but even beyond that, there isn't a central place to find not only these dashboards, but if you can add on all the other projects that are out there, and then all the other data sets, maybe CDC data sets and things like that. So pulling these things into one place was an underlying goal of the data discovery app. Here's just a little smattering, really, of a few of the different things that we've been targeting with this project. You can see some from the CDC, like health indices. The Social Vulnerability Index is a very commonly used data set. And on the other hand, you have the City Health Dashboard, which has a few different data sets within it. But it's another really good resource that's used a lot by different researchers, but these things are in different places, of course. Next slide. So when we started this project out, we began looking at this software called GeoBlacklight. GeoBlacklight is used by a lot of institutions across the US. and you can go to the next slide on this one. It's used by a lot of different libraries at academic institutions and some outside of academia as well as a finding portal for geospatial data. You can see some examples here, the Beta 10 Alliance, Cornell, Stanford, Harvard. All of these institutions have created this software, GeoBlacklight, and then they use it for their own purposes of making the spatial data more accessible and easy to find. So we began looking at and implementing this GeoBlacklight. It's an open source software. So next slide. Really basically, the architecture of GeoBlacklight is where you have all of these records on the left, these metadata records basically in JSON, but they can be harvested from other XML formats that are very common in the spatial data world, like FGDC content. So you have all the records. Those get indexed into this engine. Solr is essentially a search engine, very similar to Elasticsearch. And then on the front end, server side as well as front end, GeoBlacklight is powered by Rails, Ruby on Rails, and that creates the interface that you would see if you went to one of these GeoBlacklight portals. So that's what we started with, and I'll talk a little bit more about those components now. So the metadata schema is called OpenGeo Metadata, or that's the organization that created it. The schema they've developed is called Aardvark. So this is built from Dublin core, but expanded significantly. And it has a lot of metadata fields you'd be familiar with seeing, like title, description, publisher, but also some spatial fields like spatial coverage and geometry, things that will help drive spatial search. Next slide. And oh yeah, sorry, I forgot about that. What we've done is add on some extra fields of our own that you actually will probably be able to see right away within the front end of our interface, because we found that these would be extra fields that were really important for our specific version of finding SDOH and place data. Next slide. Solr, again, like I mentioned, this is based on very similar to Elasticsearch. It's a document store it's written in Java. It's very fast and very reliable search indexing system. So we began with that idea of GeoBlacklight, and we altered it a little bit. And the top, you can see all of those records, kind of like I was talking about, from different health dashboards. We've created metadata records in that Aardvark schema. To facilitate that, we created a separate little it's a Flask application, which you can also go to that metadata.sdohplace.org, and you can see kind of the more raw metadata records that we have. A lot of different great students have worked on creating. And then we index those into Solr. So now we have this search engine that has all of that data in it. Instead of Ruby on Rails and GeoBlacklight proper, we decided to take our existing Next.js website and create a page within that website, the search page, which reads directly from Solr. And this provided a much wider, essentially a blank slate for how we wanted to display the records, facilitate searching them. And while we're still using some of those GeoBlacklight bones, so to speak, like the metadata schema and Solr, we've changed the Solr index configuration a little bit, but very similar. Now we have a completely different front end that provides a much better experience and allows us a lot more flexibility with how we present and help people learn about SDOH data. Like I mentioned, that metadata manager, there's a few slides to show kind of what it looks like. Again, you see the list of those different records. Some are data sets, some are dashboards. And from here, you can go to the next slide. A record will have all these different fields and different values that students have filled in at different points. And then I think the next slide is just kind of an editing view, common sort of, it turns into a form and now you can edit once you're logged in, of course. So that's just kind of an overview of how we've set this whole application up. We're happy for any more technical questions later on, so just keep that in mind. But now we'll turn it over to Shubham. He's going to talk a lot more about the design of the app itself.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Adam. And thank you so much, Dr. Anand, for the opportunity. Really excited to share a bit about the design, the process itself, and how it really helped us improve what we were building. So if you go to the next slide, we wanted to kick things off with asking, for whom are we designing? Why are we even doing this in the first place? So it starts off with empathizing for the people who would be the best users of the application, and how it would exactly fit into their lives, their workflows. In in this quest, it wasn't a straightforward path, so we didn't directly, have these personas in place. We had stakeholder meetings, we had super user meetings, we had design thinking activities within the team. We took survey responses from people who used SDOH and place data. And all of those things informed us to make these user personas, as we call it in the world of design, to help better empathize with the people who will be using the SDOH and place data, and in fact the platform that we were working on. Moving to the next slide. So this is just to give you a sneak peek of, like, what it's like fleshing out a user persona. So going with the bio, personality, like giving them a full personality. Like this is this person who works here, who does this, and these are, say, the motivations, the pain points, frustrations, expectations, needs, goals, uh, what influences their work, etc. So it's just like building a full personality right in front of you. And so, Penguin, if you can go to the previous slide, actually. Uh, yes, over here, this is for all of us here. So if you see yourself falling in place with, sort of any one of these personas, the community advocate, the data analyst, the academic researcher, or a city policymaker, if you see yourself fitting into any of these personas or not, but still, using SDOH and place data, then feel free to talk to us more after the presentation. We would love to, understand your workflow, the way you approach data in your context. All right. So yes, thank you, Penguin. So what we did was, after fleshing out those personas, we conducted a 2-day design activity at the Siebel Center for Design with students and professors across University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign to ideate and prototype. So in the previous step, we were empathizing and defining, but in this step, we were focusing on ideating and prototyping. So just like, diverging, creating as many uh, ideas as possible to solve the given problem statement, and then converging and building a prototype. So in this stage, we had a few key findings. Um, and I'll just like quickly go over those, just so it gives you an idea of what the space already looks like in terms of competitor analysis. So what we realized was, existing user journeys were confusing. Uh, Looking at the existing platforms that are in this space, there was a clear desire for improvement for, information architecture and the visual style of engaging with data. The second thing that we understood was, different people have different, use cases, and so that's why there are different time constraints, different SDOH knowledge levels that they come with as they interact with the platform. And we need to understand that, honoring all of those personas would have been important, which is what we had factored in, in the next set of steps that we'll talk about in a bit. And yes, finally, just giving the ability to have a flexible search approach, because there would be beginner users, there would be power users, different expectations, as I talked about, but also just giving more flexibility, right? Improving the way people search can directly lead to better results. And so the idea of just giving more flexibility and maneuverability right from the get go with the searching part itself would be key, so that, the better the search, the better the results. All right, so now we can move to the next slide. Over here, we built a mock-up, and this is, of course, over a few iterations, where we figured out that, okay, now we are, reaching a point where we understand some of the challenges of the platform, such as the fact that it would have a lot of information. So, data discovery is a platform where you want to see quite a bit of information. Of course, there are things that would be accessible upon clicking on a button or clicking on two buttons, but just the general idea that there would be enough things in front of you was something that we understood. And for this, we made sure that the design has been the design evolved in a way that it understood those constraints, and it took an approach that used lighter shade of our primary palette. So we had French violet and salmon pink as our two important colors, but then we dialed down the saturation of both of those colors as we were working with data discovery, just so we could honor the requirements of our users, because they would appreciate a more subtle design, because there's a lot of information. So we need to make sure that that the design is not too strong. It's just like helping users engage with the information directly, and the design is participating in the background. All right, so moving to the next slide. Over here, we'll just like start talking about some of the specific pieces in the design. And so what you see in front of you in the slide here is the search, where you key in your keyword. Over here, we wanted to make sure that we don't give too many options, because this is the entry point, and so it shouldn't confuse the users. But also, if there is a sense of like ambiguity in terms of like how do you go about searching if you're not like well versed with dealing with SDOH and place data, there should be a helping hand. And so we came up with an option. So in the tooltip and the search bar, if you click on it, you get assistance in terms of understanding how you can better engage with the platform, and how can you perform a search. So that was about the search, but then over here in the next piece, we have results. So after you search for a keyword, what do you see? You see a bunch of results. Over here, we wanted to make sure that we vertically stack the results. So on the left-hand side, you can see that each of those cards are vertically stacked. So let's say if you are comparing the year coverage of the CDC Social Vulnerability Index with Food Environment Atlas USDA, you can quickly visually scan the year range. So for the first one, it's 2000 to 2020, and for the second one, it's uh, 2019. So it's all in the same vertical line, which aids in ease of interacting with a bunch of results. Now, on the right hand side, or rather right hand side and top, you see that if there are no results for whatever you search, we don't want to keep you hanging just by saying that, hey, there's no results, go back and search. But instead, if you do have an idea of what theme you are trying to explore as you're searching the data, for this we have provided options that will help you quickly just click on an existing theme. It may not be the exact keyword, but if you just click on that theme, it will show you a bunch of results in that theme. So let's say if it's food environment, it's going to show you a bunch of results, right? Including say the food environment atlas. So it's just so it takes your search journey in a more contiguous way. It does not stop if there is no result, because there can be a scenario where you search for something and the data for that might be upcoming, or it might just not exist at the moment. And finally, what we have here on the bottom right is the filter option. So this is something that is still a work in progress, but we just wanted to show you, to share that, once you get a bunch of results, we want to provide the option for users to be able to filter the results as they are able to see them. So these were a few things about the result section, but now talking about the map view. So as you search, you have your search bar, you have your results, but then what you also see in the interface, which Penguin will be sharing in just a bit, you also have a map view. So a lot of users, as we were working in the earlier stages of design, helped us understand that for them, having a visual assistance in the form of a map would be useful. We also, further understood that in the design sprint, where we, understood that, okay, there are a bunch of users who don't really need the map, but then there are these other users who would benefit from the map. So in the interest of that, we wanted to provide a map view where over here you have a search bar where you can search by the location, and then it'll, zoom in, it'll filter the results based on the location, something that Penguin will be showing in the demo in just a moment. But also, not just the fact that you have a map where you can search for a location, but you can apply overlays. So what you see on the slide here shows you an active overlay. On the top right of the map, you might be able to see it says overlays : parks. So what's happening here is it's a drop down. You select on that drop down, you select parks, you see a bunch of parks in the location that you're looking at. So this is exploring Jackson, Mississippi. Over here, you can see all those green dots are parks. And we also have an option where if you take your mouse towards those dots, it shows you more data, for that park itself. So this is all just so it aids your search experience. And yeah, finally, we have the super user testing. So with everything that we built, we wanted to make sure that we are in line with the expectations of what users expect of us. And so in our testing phase, which is what we had in November of 2024, we had a first early access of the application where we gave super users and professionals in the health equity space at UIUC a first access, just so they could play around, they could get a feel for it, but also more importantly, help us understand their process of finding SDOH data using the platform. And in turn, what we were able to get was a pretty detailed feedback of what their experience is like, what do they expect, but also bugs that we could fix when we, would go back to the drawing board. So all of those things, played into how we further took those feedback pointers, and we are, continuously working on it at the moment. A lot of those improvements have already, been infused into the application, some of which we are still working on, which takes me to the last point from a design standpoint that, design is iterative. And, it takes a few iterations to really get to a point where we can, comfortably feel that we are, taking care of most of our users' needs, while also, making sure that things look aesthetically pleasing while also are super usable. So that was on the design side of things, but now I'd like to hand it over to Penguin to share about the search experience in more detail. So over to you, Penguin.
Thank you, Shubian. Switch the slide. So after we see the general infrastructure, what's the idea behind this whole project, and Shubian also shared the design details, let's take a look at the whole search experience in the platform. So again, if you haven't done so, please go to sdoh.org/search, and then you will be able to experience by yourself. Meanwhile, I saw that our vote of demo versus hands-on has 5 vote for demo. So meanwhile, we will do a demo along with the presentations. But again, please open that URL and try it by yourself and let us know in the end what's your experience about the alpha version of this platform. So let's start it by define what kind of search experience the user wants, right? So for this platform, we provide 2 search modes. First of all, we want to do a traditional keyword search. We want to make sure that if the user enter an exact term, for example, like the SDOH in lower income, property, user will be able to find the related information directly based on what they need. But on the other side, we also want the user to have experience of asking the questions. We not want to assume that user know everything they want, but if the user really want to research for a question and they don't know what kind of data sets they should find under the help of the LLM, we want the user to also achieve this feature. So we have an ongoing effort to provide a hybrid experience of data search, and we're going to continue to improve both of the search mode for the under the SDOH context. So let's go first with the keyword search. The default mode is the keyword search mode. So we focus on let the user type the terms that matches the critical fields first. For example, title, description, creators. And when the user begin to type this, we're going to have a auto suggestions directly from our Solr search document base, and user will be able to say, oh, anything about, for example, anything about the CDC that would be a good data set for us. And if user click the corresponding term from the drop-down list, they will be able to go to this data set directly. And I'm going to quickly touch about the keyword search process. So first of all, like if the user know what is the target concept, like social vulnerability, they began to type it. And then the Solr, we have been configured that Solr will search for all the critical fields such as title, description, and it's going to begin to suggest corresponding terms. And when the user click this term, it will hit the select endpoint from the Solr, and users work out all the document details of this search term. We also want to make sure that, instead of user have to click each of the small cards to see the details, and then they will be able to compare the data finally, and the way that user can quickly go through each of the results and learn something important, how this result could relate it to their search term, so that user don't need to open all the details to see the exact data. Instead, they can just skim through first and then find the data that maybe draw their most attention. So we actually have a highlight feature that when the user gets the list of the results, they will be able to just hover their mouse on each of the card, and we will see that we will tell them that, okay, for the terms that is critical in this search result, is that really related to your keyword? Is that an exact match? Is that a broad match? Or is that something that, yeah, you can please just take a look. So we rank the matches for the term using the metadata fields, and we do want to make sure that, if there's any terms that is shown in the, again, critical fields like title, like description, this will be more of relevant match. And we also, if there's also like some user type like term that probably don't have the exact match, we also want to make sure we have recommendations to the related terms, and those related terms are also highlighted so that user can compare what they search versus like the term we want to recommend to them. And lastly, we also develop a very basic autocorrect feature that if we detect that you enter some keyword that is not exact matches our database, but we found something that is super close, we will try to do a autocorrect for you, but we still give the option for the user that, oh, you just insist with your previous like original term, please just search for that. Lastly, as Shibian already showed, that we do have sort and filter options. It's still in the initial stage, but we do want to make sure that user will still be able to, for example, sort their data based on the years, and also do some filtering, such as this part will be expanded in the future. And lastly, take a quick look at our like detailed panel. As Adam already showed that in our detailed data details, we try to show like artwork metadata with our customizations as out to the metadata set. We want to also show the data insights before we tell the user, oh, you can actually go to this location to find the corresponding data, right? We want the user to kind of see some insights before they have to download the full data set and do their own navigation. We are still going, we are part of the data recovery initiative, which some of you probably know that we, based on the the politics landscape, lots of websites, as the CDC website, they have disturbance in their data preservation. So we try to create multiple copies. We have our own archives, and we are continue to be part of the recovery initiative, try to save more data for the researchers. And lastly, we have a feature that if you feel like, oh, this is an interesting data set, you can click the share button and share this exact data detail page with your fellows. And let's try our alpha version. So as we see that we going to do the demo, let me quickly show that there are a few goals that we want you to try. Again, our PowerPoint is downloadable, so in the end, feel free to ask us for our PowerPoint and try it by yourself. But I will quickly change the share and show my Chrome window. Can everyone see my Chrome window? Okay, awesome. So let's do some basic like keyword search. Like for example, if someone wants to search for I don't know, like user child. Let's see what happened to child. So first of all, as we have shown that when you begin to search for child, there will be a list of the suggested terms that based on the priorities and how it related to the search result. Like for example, if someone type child, they will be able to search for like child poverty rate. If you click that, you can see that where is that field is a child poverty rate, right? So like for example, this is a very good match. Like Food Environment Atlas, it has direct term there that child poverty field. So user probably, you click the details, you will be able to say, here is all the details, and you can go to each of the detailed metadata to see, for example, what is in the data set, what is the measures data input. We also have the link to the official link to how to download this data and technical documentations to it. You can always click go to resources, and it should open the corresponding page that you can download this data. And if you want to just show this all of this metadata and to your fellows and tell them that, you can always go to the resources to do it later, click this share, and then we will have a shared link that you can click this icon to copy it. And if you paste it, it should lead you directly to this page. So again, we also have like highlight feature that you don't need to click every card to see the data details, but instead you can skim through this, and basically you can see some of the cards have direct like child poverty rate. Some of them may be related, like this one have poverty rate, but probably it's not child poverty rate. This one have poverty, but it might be a more broader match to your term. So you can basically skim through all the cards and grab the information that really draw your interest. And as you already noticed, our cards is being sorted based on the relevance. And we also have a sort and filter option that, for example, you can filter by year. And again, as Shuben demonstrated, if after you done all the filter, there's like no data that actually match this criteria, you can always click like, let's filter by the same, and you will be able to see all the interesting data that is relative to the same. Like for example, now we see all the data that matches like the demographic same. You can also do OR selection. Like here, now we show all the data matches both either demographics or economic stability. So this is a quick demo of all the basic keyword search feature and sort and filter. And by the way, if you want to go back to your original state, click the clear all, and that should reset all of your filter to the original status. Also, you may mention that there is a button called go back to the map view. So this will allow you to switch between the detailed tab, and also you can see the map view. So let me go to the slide again. Okay, right. So here again, like as we all want to see a demo, these are the steps that you can do by yourself, and feel free to ask us to see all these very interesting actions. But let's move on to the next part. So now after we see the basic keyword search mode, we also want to let you see the AI inspired search mode. So in this mode, beyond we just want the user to enter the exact keyword and search for the information. Like what if they don't know what term they should search, right? What if they just have a very general question over their research, but they just don't know where to start. What kind of data set would be the best for them? So for this purpose, we developed this trial version of AI-inspired search modes, taking the advantage of the OpenAI API. And we want user to be able to ask questions that matters and get the suggestions from the LLM. However, we want to also make sure that our result is solidly based on the fact, not based on anything that is generated. And you will be able to see how we utilize Solr to combine the power of LLM with a fact-based search. So first of all, we have a icon that says try AI inspired search mode so that user can easily switch between two modes. We still want to make the keyword search as the default mode because like lots of actually majority of the user group for our platform actually do know what they actually want, right? So we want the keyword search mode at default mode, but AI inspired search mode is available as a trial feature from now. And we are in the redesign process. Shubai is currently working on it to make both of the mode more user-friendly. And I'm going to quickly talk about what happens on the backstage when the user try to do this LLM search mode. So we have a very detailed prompt that we're going to feed this to the OpenAI API. So it includes like all kinds of SDOH context. It has metadata that we want OpenAI API to consider and give it back to us. And also this is a fact-based search. So what the role that LLM play is only about the natural language parsing into the SDOH context. And we will transfer the natural language question into the corresponding suggestions from the LLM. And LLM also need to change that suggestion to a Solr query. So in the end, all the suggestions will still be transferred to a Solr query and then hit our fact-based document base. So as you can see that while we leverage LLM's very strong capability for the natural language processing, all the results still come back from our document base, and our document base is solidly based on the fact and all the metadata queries has been done by the human. So there's no generative part when the user see their new results list. And we try to use a like COT styled prompt engineering. So it's a very cost effective of use of LLMs. So chain of thought. We also try to make this when we choose a model, we want it to be both economic friendly, and also we want to make sure that it still fit our needs. So currently it's powered by the GPT-4o minis advanced ALP structure, and the reason we actually use this instead of some very good open source model is that we have very limited time and effort that we can do to build the context from the scratch. So by taking advantage of this commercially closed source model, there's no need for us to build the context from scratch. And also after we feed all the prompt into the OpenAI API, the OpenAI API will talk to a Netlify H function, which Netlify is the platform that we host our whole app on, and Netlify itself has a H function that can work as a middle layer between the OpenAI API and our front end. So we, as I already stated, that we do want LLM to be used with trusted data source. So user as a side feature, we allow users to ask questions in English or their native language, like Mandarin, like Hindi, Arabic, and then LLM through OpenAI API will translate the natural language into Solr queries with the SDOH context. So here is a very general chart to demonstrate this. And lastly, Solr will retrieve relevant results from our document base. We do have a blog post to explain the search mode, so feel free to go to the SDOH website and just look for this blog post. And besides, we actually let LLM gave the recommendation. We also want to know why LLM actually recommend me to search for these 13 data sets. When we ask why people moving to Chicago. So we do have a session called Inspired by Your Search. So in this session, LLM will give the reason to why LLM want to recommend such data set to this search. So if the user can read it and validate by themselves, if the user feel like, oh, this is not trustful, they can always switch back to the keyword search. And let's do a quick demo about this. Oh, also, if you have any questions, please type in the chat and we will answer it after we finish the whole session. Let's switch back to the platform. Okay, so here is, we are in the default search mode. So as you can see, this magnet is highlighted, but there is a kind of like a chat icon besides it. And if you click it, it says switch to the AI inspired search. And we actually have a few example questions that you can use if you don't know where to start. And also remember, you can always click this information icon and you will be led to a corresponding help text to also help you to understand this feature. Like, let's just try an example question, right? For example, if user really want to know, okay, what impact does the housing stability have on the health outcomes of the low income populations? So you type these questions into the search bar and now just start the search and let's see what's going to happen. Normally, like AI-based search, they takes like other extra time, or there's possible like interruptions, and we do have a backup plan. But for this one, it's success. And first of all, you can see that okay, ALLM will give the reason for why these are the recommended results. In analyzing the impact of housing stability or the health outcome, key concept that researcher could consider is housing, health, low income, stability, and outcomes. And then the most relevant term is housing, right? So based on this, these terms are actually transferred to the Solr search, and now we got results still based on our fact-based database, and the user can skim through it again to see the highlight. And yeah, these are the relevant data set that will be very helpful to this search question. We can also, let's try a different like native language question. So for example, if user want to ask like questions in any language that is other than English, we still allow user to do this. It's just currently as a trial version. So some of the languages may not have a very good result. But for this one, like for example, we will try to give the reasoning as their native language. While like most of our data is based on the English, so there will be corresponding terms that based on the questions. So these are all in the English, but we are exploring the possibility to also give the recommendation based on other languages. So again, if if the user was like, oh no, this I'm okay with this, they can always go back to the keyword search mode. Okay, let me go back to the presentation. Oops, I think I need to reshare again. Can everyone see my screen, this slide? Okay, good, thank you. So again, like achieve these goals, these are like homework, like feel free to take the slide back and try by yourself. And let's introduce also map. So as Shuben and Adam already mentioned, we have map outlets that we can show community assets, and we have very fruitful data to show for the community assets such as parks, adult education, child enrichment, and we have corresponding data that's related to each of the data. Also for the map, we also allow user to filter by location. So for example, after you have like enter a lot of results and you want to know, oh, what are actually the data sets that Chicago area actually being covered, you can enter like for example Chicago, Illinois in the map, and the data will be filtered by the location as well. And we also have a new feature that's called show special coverage. And for each of the data set, there are different special coverage that represent. For example, some data set has like county level, some data set is based on the state level. So we have a feature called show special coverage, which is currently named as show on map, but we're going to rename it. This will allow you to see the special coverage for each of the data sets before you actually going into, you have to read all the details. And again, as I have mentioned before, in the last 6 months, we have go through like data rescue efforts to save some government data that has gone offline. We have archived version in our box, and we have the link directly to our box for this corresponding data. You can always search from the SDOH Discovery platform and see the links to this box folder, and the link will appear in the item details panel if you really view it. So here we also have a link to our data archive, like Adam, Shuben, please feel free to share this in the chat. And that's part of our continuous effort, not just show data, but we also want to join the data preservation process. Okay, now let's quickly see the map. I'm watching the time, so this probably be a quick demo to show the map feature. All right, so here back to our discovery platform. So first of all, remember the special resolution feature. Oh, actually, let me clear all the previous search result. Yeah. So first of all, the show special coverage feature. If you click show on map for data that has different special coverage. For example, this one, it census block. It will show the coverage on the map. So you can basically check, oh, what is the level of coverage for this data. You can always remove the preview and try others. Like for example, this one has coverage over, like city census tract. And then you can see that, oh, these are the coverage that this data set actually show. And also we have different community assets, like for example, parks. We go to parks, James. So these are all carefully curated metadata. And if you click either each of them, you will be able to see the detailed information that we have for this community data point. And also you can always do a filter by location. Like for example, if you want to search for levels of data, you will be able to see that we actually do some filter for you. And then you will be able to see that, oh, among all the data sets, what are the data sets that is have like Chicago covered. And if you move through the map, the ongoing filter process will keep. And so these are also like features that we continue to improve. So if you have any suggestions, any questions, please read that. Let me go back to the PowerPoint and share. Okay, so let's before we end the full presentation, let's talk about some future improvement we plan to do for this platform. So first of all, we have just done the alpha launch in March this year, and we have some short-term plan to improve the platform. First of all, we have a user feedback, we have user surveys, and we're going to analyze all the feedbacks and address immediate concerns. So for example, if there's any bugs, we're going to fix the bug first. We will work on some UI component integration, and we're going to continuously improve our message flow. And also, meanwhile, we're going to continue with our data recovery and archiving efforts. And if you know any interesting data sets that you think would be a good fit for our data recovery efforts, please let us know, and we are more than happy to archive the data for you. And lastly, we have been discussed to create a more personalized experience. For example, when the user actually comes to our platform, they will be able to create a profile and save their search history so that they don't need to research again and again. And also, we will also plan that in the future, we will integrate our metadata manager in the data creation process so that the user can always contribute back to our metadata manager, and everyone will work together to get better data. And in the long-term plan, we have some search optimization strategy that we're currently planning. So first of all, ChatGPT, like OpenAI API, while they're doing good, they still don't have enough domain knowledge, especially in the SDOH field. So we are underlying a ontology development. We might change that to the knowledge graph so that first of all, we're going to use this to give a more relevant search experience. Also, we want to use it to reduce the hallucinations that LLM normally have. And also, we want to use it as a Solr grounding for the domain knowledge that we want the LLM tends to. Also, this could be also a good terminology control strategy, so that for the same SDOH context, our user and LLM will know the same, use the same terminology. And currently, we plan to do a ontology to the knowledge graph transition, so that we not just save the ontology, but there will be possibility for us to actually visualize the ontology for user. And after the knowledge graph dot build, we're going to inject it to the both LLM and Solr, so that both our keyword search, which just use Solr, and LLM-based search, which use both OpenAI API and Solr, they will both benefit from this new context building. And lastly, our goal is to build a context-aware search that incorporates both demand-specific insights, give fruitful, meaningful results, and as well as consider always user-centric. And that concludes our presentations. Again, thank you, everyone. And please try our search platform. And we have a survey link there at the top of the platform for you to fill in. And please let us know your opinion about this. And also, we'd like to acknowledge that this project is funded being part of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. Now I'm going to stop sharing, and we have, I guess, 3 minutes for any questions, any thoughts. Okay, we see a question from Sarah. Fantastic talk, thank you. Can you say more about appraisal for determining which data assets get included in the platform? Is this mostly a manual effort, and what does it involve? And Adam, do you want to answer this question?
Yeah, I think it is a manual process, and it's been kind of a culmination of a lot of different years of research on these topics. I personally am not the best to answer this. The head of our lab, Marinia Kolak, I see she's here, but she may not be able to respond to this question. But I think the better, a few different pieces criteria that we used was, for one, prioritizing nationwide coverage and kind of full US coverage of these data sets that would have a spatial coverage and spatial data in some way, which I suppose is probably obvious in that that's a focus of the project. And so I guess this follow-up question here, someone just asked, and who should we contact to discuss adding new index related to health disparities? The best place would be through the contact form on the website. That will get you straight to us. And I'll put my email in here, and I'll also put Marinia Kolak's email in here, so that feel free to just kind of write us and let us know. As Marinia mentioned in the chat, it's kind of a multi-step process that we've used to determine which are the most relevant to be included in the platform.
I guess we have time for one more question before we head out. Or if anyone have any follow-up question, please feel free to fill in the contact form, and we will email you back as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Thank you. I guess all three of you, really good presentation. I just put a link there. There is a related work with iGuide in terms of the platform that we have. And I see there is a possibility that some of the data sets that you are collecting could be linked through the platform. The platform, iGuide platform, is basically designed to do like this connection piece, as well as making like what we call knowledge elements, essentially datasets, notebooks, computational notebooks, and things like that actionable. So we have a Jupyter Hub environment associated with it as well as connection to HPC. So there is I think there might be some possibilities to engage with the team here to work on it. So I put a link there, so you guys might want to look at it and see if there is anything which might be of interest to you guys.
That's perfect. Thanks a lot for that.
Thank you.
One thing, I don't know if we highlighted this, is that we haven't created this to store data as much as iGuide is, where iGuide is like you say, integrated environment. This is more of a pointing out to other places to help people discover.
Right.
So that's a really cool thing that iGuide adds. That would be a great
Yeah.
extra layer. Yeah.
We could store the
Very,
data,
very
we
good.
could have links, and the other things we are doing is the connecting fabric, meaning like like a data set is associated with the publications and maybe notebooks. So you could find all the related knowledge elements associated with, like, for a particular data set that might be using that data set. And then maybe if there is a computational notebook, you could run it and you could like get an analysis. And if there is a need to go to HPC, there are ways to do that as well. So yeah, I see there are some similarities, some like complementary things that we have, which might be good to explore. But thank you for sharing all these details. Really interesting.
Well, thank you for having us. We're really happy to be able to talk here. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you all. And we'll see you guys next week in another VCO session. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so much.
you. Bye-bye.